Hey everybody, Jonathan Broadbent here, your host of UnWoke Academy, and I'm bringing you another Patriot Owned Business shout out. Through that group that started in Texas, you've heard me talk about them over the last couple of months. I've gotten to know Deirdre Terrence from Tyndall Marketing, and Deirdre joins us today with some story about her Patriot Owned business, what got her started in marketing, and where she sees the company headed. Deirdre, you want to take it away and tell us more about Tyndall and where you're headed?
Thank you, Jonathan. It was so awesome to be included on the show today. So Dee Dee's my nickname because everyone always has a little bit of trouble saying my first name, which is actually Deirdre. And I think it's like an East Coast thing. I think people on the West Coast are totally fine saying my name because I have an extra R. So I own a marketing company called Tyndall Creative Marketing. My last name is Tyndall. So as I was saying to Jonathan earlier, we, last name is Tyndall. I broke up the name into all creative marketing because that's what our company does. We are based in Connecticut, where I live. However, we have clients all over the country. I actually also live in Montana in the summer. It's another free state where things are a little bit more normal than where I live in Connecticut. So I work from Connecticut in the winter mostly, and then I'm in Montana working in the summer. And we have clients all over the United States, primarily in the East Coast, just because that's where I created my business. I grew up on the West Coast. I grew up in a very large family. I grew up in Colorado, which looks very different now in terms of political landscape than it did when I was growing up. I'm sure many can relate to that. I grew up in a very large family. I'm one of 12 children. And it's kind of cool. And we grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. So that's kind of like how I got my love for being an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. He owned his own business. He owned an import-export wine business. And so at a very early age, we were working in the business. I was actually homeschooled until I was in 7th grade. And so a lot of my, I would say not textbook learning came from the homeschool environment where we were learning on the job, right? We were learning about math in the warehouse when we were counting bottles of wine and figuring out how things would be priced out and stuff like that. So I kind of have a unique background. And I would say that really set the impetus for me in terms of really having life skills that matter, like not just textbook skills that they're teaching in the schools now, but really skills that matter in business and how to relate to people and how to relate to customers and how to take care of people. And I think all of that came from working in my dad's business at a very, very early age. And then from there, how I got from Colorado to Connecticut is I got a full ride scholarship to play D1 tennis in Connecticut. And when you come from a poor family and you have 12 children, you have to get creative about how you get to college. So I was very grateful that I was a good athlete and I played tennis and I guess I was pretty good at it. And that's how I got out to Connecticut, and I went to Fairfield University in Connecticut. And, probably, had I not gotten married and had a child, I probably would have not stayed in Connecticut. Just because the landscape here is very different, right? Like, especially now as I say I'm grown up and I have my own business, and who you do business with matters, and the political landscape matters. I think places like Connecticut, while I'm grateful for everything and the people that I've met here and connected with, I think that, unfortunately, a lot of our freedoms as patriots, are very inhibited in places like Connecticut, right? And Jonathan, I don't know, where are you from? What state do you live in?
I'm in Ohio, born and raised in Ohio.
Right. So that's one of the reasons I love being in Montana, because, I still feel like when I go to Montana that there are more people like me, in Montana and than there are in Connecticut. Although I've, spent the last probably 5 to 7 years trying to find other Patriot-owned businesses. And I always tell Tim on the Facebook group, I wish we had this big of a group of Patriot-owned businesses like in this area, in this northeast, because being able to have that huge group of Patriot owned businesses that all think the same is just a huge asset. It's a huge asset.
So, Dee, I've got some questions I want to ask you about structure and what you're finding in Connecticut. So, let me begin with what to me is kind of the obvious. Having that sort of back and forth travel between Montana and Connecticut, where is your business technically housed?
So, by law, I'm registered in the state of Connecticut. I'm incorporated in the state of Connecticut. So, but that will change in 3 years. I'm basically wedded to Connecticut because my son is in school, and when he graduates in 3 years, I'll be moving fully everything to Montana, and will register my business in the state of Montana at that time.
Is that the 6-month residency requirement?
They do have so my husband is already going to be getting residency from Montana because he's there. Like, he commutes from there to work. So, but they do have right to get residency. You have to be there 6 months, but I can't really leave the state of Connecticut. My son's father lives in Connecticut. We're divorced. And so I'm going to keep my son here in Connecticut and sort of in the school system that he's in, graduate in 3 years. And then at that point we'll move full-time to Montana. And that's when I'll move my business. I mean, I already have clients out there, and I've already been working with lots of business owners out there, but to be fully to be there full-time, we'll be there in 3 years.
Understood. Yeah. So it seems to me that it's very likely you're going to experience more freedoms as a business once you're able to move the business entity from Connecticut to Montana, just based on my observations of businesses that we do business with. So another question, I want to ask you to drill down a little bit more into the types of products and services that you offer in the marketing realm. So, for instance, marketing in my world, my experience, can be anything from print media to digital media to sort of those tchotchkes and things that people use to grow businesses. What's the breadth and scope of Tyndall?
So I always say we're a small agency. We have 5 staff. We're one of 5, and we are a full service digital marketing agency. And so we cover the gamut, which is sort of where the all creative marketing comes into play, right? We cover the gamut in terms of branding, strategy, content, social. We manage a lot of social media. We build a lot of websites, but I have a background in business. So a lot of times, in fact, I was just talking to someone before I got on with you. A lot of times people will come to me asking for marketing help. And a lot of times I'll say, you're not ready for marketing yet. Like, I'm doing the right thing for you. Like, I could just take your money and just build you a beautiful website and a beautiful brand and do social media. But if you don't really have that business infrastructure stuff set up on the front side, like basic things like a business plan, really having a CRM. Like, if you ask them the question, do you have a CRM system? And they ask you, what is that? They're not ready for marketing. They're just not. So I always tell that to people, like, I can help you on the business side, get this stuff set up, a business plan, a marketing plan, so that when we start to do marketing, you're going to be that much more successful. So that's kind of my process. And then, like I said, I can build you a beautiful brand. We're getting a lot of people to do a lot of digital stuff, but for a lot of clients, some of the pieces still may be a direct mail piece. Like, it depends on the strategy that we're doing for them, right? And depends on who their audience is, where their audience is, like what their demographics are. So a lot of the strategy and where we're going is driven by those questions that we work with on the front end with the client.
So when you get into print media and direct mail, that's actually enters my world. That's my background. I used to own a printing company. So that's something I know a lot about. But my understanding of kind of the marketing world almost kind of ends there. It butts up against digital marketing, but I got out of that print media. Just as web marketing, digital marketing was kind of coming into its own some years ago. So I'm glad to hear that print media is not completely dead. People
no,
are
it's
still
not.
doing
No, it's definitely not. And like I said, I think it's unique to every client, depending on what their demographics are. Like, for example, I've run a lot of, I don't really promote it, but I've worked on a lot of political campaigns, and just because I have a different, unique, I'm not in the political world, so I have a unique way of looking at things. And I've worked on probably 6 campaigns. we're still spending a ton of money on every door direct, direct mail pieces, probably 4, 5, 6 in a campaign cycle, in addition to the Facebook ads, in addition to all the digital stuff we're doing. Those direct mail pieces, that print media is still very, very important, for example, in these political campaigns, because people still want to get that stuff to their door.
It works. Those
It
postcards
works.
actually work. Yeah,
it does. And you know what? I think I said to somebody the other day, like, on the bit in sales, it used to be 5 to 7 touch points of a variety of type to get a client or customer to take an action that you wanted them to, but the max now is about 17. So one of those touch points could very well be direct mail pieces. They're still really important.
So that's an unexpected turn. I didn't see that as I looked through your website and your social media postings. I may have missed it, but having that the political campaign acumen is something I think should be interesting to more of us Patriot-owned businesses, as more of us become aware of kind of the political influence on our lives. So can you drill down a little bit more on sort of footprint and the breadth and scope of what sort of political campaign help that you can offer?
So I don't advertise it because I live in Connecticut. And it's really, to be honest with you, I never wanted to get into politics because politics is a dirty business, right? As you know.
Yep.
The only reason I ended up first getting into politics is because it was through everything so much of what I do is through referrals, right? People that know you and whatnot. So it came through referrals. Someone referred me to a woman who was running for mayor at the time. And then through her, I ended up doing the entire town campaign, multiple years, then representatives campaigns. And then that ended up in being another town. But again, those are very Patriot Republican towns campaigns that I worked on, and I wouldn't do anything other than that. Right. And so this just happens to be through connection. And I think the reason I got hired is not necessarily, we're good at marketing. I'm really good at marketing, but I think I got hired because one, the relationship and the referral, but also two, because I look at it completely different. I look at things way different. I'm not in that internal, like political, whatever, that circle, right? And it's all just sort of incestuous and everybody's doing the same thing and thinking the same thing. And I just like blow that up and I'm like totally thinking about it differently, and campaigns are different and stuff like that. So I'm not going to lie. It's not my favorite thing to work on because it is such a dirty, even just think about like at the local level, it's brutal. It's really brutal. But we as patriots have to get involved. Like we have to get involved. Like in the state of Connecticut, like it goes Democrat, right? And so until more people are going on the boards of eds, getting involved in the town councils, running for local elections and things like that, the trend here in Connecticut is just going to continue to do exactly what it does. It votes for these politicians that are corrupt, that are, like during COVID, for example, the governor's wife was on the board of the testing kits, right, for COVID, right? And it's like, so there's just, a lot of people get involved at the local level, they can make a difference, but you got to get it. I'm on the board of ed up here in my town. Like you got to get in and you got to get involved to try to stop some of this stuff that's like coming in.
Awesome. Kudos to you. As a side note, because I think you and I should connect on that front as well on social media, where we've got a little bit of an exchange going on. I am part of a leadership team here in Ohio called Protect Ohio Children, and I'm a liaison for Parents Defending Education, FIRE, and other sorts of organizations like that. Very close to, they may prove helpful. So I'll make a note of that. We'll connect after the show. But I want to drill down a little bit more into sort of concept to fruition. You mentioned your ability and aptitude to help people get beyond just concept. So how early is too early for somebody to come to you? Or I guess put a different way, if somebody has an idea for a business plan, can they come to you with just sort of raw concept, back of the napkin sort of thing, and ask for your help at that stage, or a little bit later, further developed?
So that's a great question. And I wish that, and I say this all the time, I wish I could get people who want to start a business at the napkin stage. because now a lot of agencies won't work with small business owners. I love working with small business owners. It doesn't say that I have larger businesses, but I love working with small business owners, and I love working with them at the napkin stage, because if I can get to them and they understand the importance of investing in their business with this infrastructure on the business side that I'm talking to you about, and then like making themselves look beautiful and professional and things like that. And I can help walk them through those stages. It's going to save them so much headache down the road, because unfortunately everyone calls me the problem solver, because I end up getting a lot of problems and solving them, and not even able to do what I really love doing, which is the marketing, because I'm usually solving some of these business issues and some of these marketing issues that other people cause because they try to do it themselves. Or, I think the biggest curse is small business owners thinking they can do everything and they're good at everything. And then you just aren't. I mean, just like I don't try to fix my own teeth or, crack my own back. Like I go to a professional, and that's what I always say to people. Like marketing's not any different. Like sales is not any different than hiring, somebody that knows what they're talking about. So I want those people early, but I don't want them if they don't understand that they're going to have to invest in themselves and spend some money to do so.
So it sounds to me like you're a small and nimble shop, which is awesome to hear. One of the things, and this is sort of an adage or a description that I've used several times through the years, in proximity to a marketing company that I got to be friends with back many decades ago, when I owned the print shop. I got to know some people that worked in marketing. And one of the most funny stories that was relayed to me was somebody sort of upset that they didn't land the contract for the company Caterpillar. Caterpillar, if you're not familiar with them,
huge.
They're a huge company. They do those giant tractors and earth moving equipment and all that stuff. But apparently some big marketing firm somewhere landed the contract to rebrand Caterpillar as a company. So they came up with the new brand, and you've probably seen it. If I put it up on the screen, you'd instantly recognize it. It's a yellow background with black type.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, they condensed the word caterpillar into cat and made the A a triangle. And so this friend of mine, he made the comment. He was like, yeah, great. So they land the contract for Caterpillar. They make it Helvetica bold with a triangle and charge $16 million. So my point in bringing that up is shops like yours are probably vastly more economical than, I don't even know if we reference Fifth Avenue types of marketing firms anymore. I don't even know if advertising comes out of Fifth Avenue, New York anymore. But can you talk more about where you're competitive and your ideal market?
Yeah, so we definitely do not charge what big agencies charge. I mean, I just know that, like my brother, who's not a Patriot, but is also very successful, owns a very, very large nationwide marketing company. And he has hundreds of people that work for him. And so I know what like big, large agencies like that are charging. We're nowhere near that. And to be honest with you, Jonathan, I don't think I ever want to get to that level. Like, I don't want that many employees. I don't want that. I want to still be able to do what I'm able to do best, which is still have one-to-one conversations with people that are coming to me for help. Like, I don't want to push that off on staff and, get so large and I think have a lot of overhead. So then I have to charge a lot of money. Like, one of the best things I was happy about during COVID is my business didn't fail during COVID. My business like did really well. And I feel guilty about that, but we didn't have the overhead. Like, we didn't have to pay rent. We didn't have, like, there was all that stuff that, because we're virtual, like all my staff work virtual. We don't have an office. Like, so all of that extra cost is not cost that I have to hand to you, right? When I'm building you a brand or we're doing social media or whatever. So I've looked at the market space and the landscape. I've looked and I know that we're very comfortable. I probably should be charging more, but I'm okay with what I'm charging because it means that I can still service the people that I really want to service, which is which is small business owners, which nobody likes to work with. And I'm okay with, Jonathan, you come to me and you might want just a new brand. And we start with that. And but I build that relationship with you and we become so connected. And you can see that I can do a lot of different things because I have a huge background. And then I start doing this for you. And then I start doing this for you. And pretty soon it's years and years have gone by and I'm doing all this stuff for you. Right. And so I'm okay with a little bit at the beginning, because I know that I can help you grow and I can cultivate our relationship and you can get to know me and trust me and I'm okay with that. Whereas some people are like, you know what, that's not worth my time. For me, it is worth my time. And that's where I start sometimes.
Awesome. Yeah. And I imagine being the size you are gives you the flexibility, and especially being the owner, gives you that flexibility to pursue those small, potentially growing clients that may become the big clients of the future.
And I also like working obviously with Patriot Owned business owners. So you can tell pretty quickly when you have well, here's the thing I've found in Connecticut. If you get one conservative patriot, a lot of them here don't like to tell people that they're conservative and patriot because they're afraid of the backlash to their business. But what they do is there's an underground, right? And so they'll tell another person, tell another person, tell another person. And then like all those people are coming to me and they know that Deirdre is a patriot, Deirdre is conservative, Deirdre will help you and she'll go to the nth degree to help you. And so they know that. But they're not out there like, hey, I'm a conservative or hey, I'm a Patriot Owned business. But in conversation, when you first meet with them, you can figure out very quickly with a few questions who you're dealing with. And I love to work with them because the thing is it made in our value system. We're already aligned in how we're thinking about things. And so like, it's just so much easier to move forward in terms of marketing them and helping them with business.
I completely agree. Have you thought at all about sort of branding yourself in that way? Or I guess there's a couple of elements to that, and I'd like your feedback on Connecticut in particular. Have you considered adopting something, maybe even taking the Patriot Owned Businesses brand, which, as I've mentioned several times to my audience, comes out of Tim Labatsky in Texas, but taking that Patriot Owned Businesses brand and sort of adopting it outright in Connecticut to draw business? Or would there be too much danger to taking that approach?
You know, you're asking some tough questions. It's something I've thought about a lot. Like I haven't even put Tim's logo on the bottom of my website or the bottom of my signature. Not because I'm embarrassed to be a patriot, not because I'm embarrassed to be conservative. I mean, I think the way I ease into it, so I have a personal Instagram account. Like I don't even have my real name on Facebook, right? But when you go to my Instagram, it's very clearly in the bio says conservative Christian. I believe in no abortion. Like it's pretty clear about like, what I stand for, right? And so that's sort of out there, right? People can see that. So I haven't come out in my social media on my website and done this huge campaign and say I'm Patriot owned, like I support Patriot owned businesses. I haven't done that yet. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to get to that point. It's just that I'm not there yet because you have to understand the climate in Connecticut is not, it's a difficult place to do business. If you're a patriot, if you're a conservative. I certainly also have some public visibility because I'm a board of ed member, right? And so I've never been bashful, even as a parent before I was a board of ed member and was asked by the Republican Party in my local town to run. I was going before the board and very much announcing like, this is not correct. We shouldn't be doing this. Like, this is not what we need to be doing for our children. And then I became a board member and I'm still very vocal and people are pretty clear like where I stand. And people used to say, including my husband, like, this is going to backlash for your business, right? Like you're very public and you're saying these things, but it's going to hurt your business. But God has a funny way of working. And I think speaking the truth, it hasn't hurt my business. I've been so grateful. People are coming sort of out of the woodwork. Maybe they're seeing it, maybe they're hearing it underground, whatever, but they're still choosing to work with me because I think because of my values.
Awesome. That's encouraging to hear. So before I forget to ask the key questions here, how do people get a hold of you? And could you please tell us your website?
Yeah. So my website is I can put it. I don't know if I can put it in the chat here. Can I put this in the chat? Will this show up for everybody?
I will make sure to include it in the show notes. For some of the platforms where we broadcast this content, I'll be able to add show notes. But if you could actually just say it out clearly as well, I want to make sure people can find you.
Yep. I'm going to just put in the notes here. So my website is www.tind-allcreativemarketing.com. And then my number, the best number to get me, which I would encourage anyone in the Patriot Network even if they're not looking for help with business marketing, I still want to network with people, right? So text me, call me, 860-916-4561. Even if they're not in my state, like I'd love to connect with them. I was asking Tim, like, is there anybody in Montana? Like, I think I put a post out there. Is there anybody that are Patriot businesses in Montana that I can connect with and network with? Like, and I think one guy actually reached out to me and he has a coffee business that's in the Patriot group. So I would love to connect with people. I want to network with people, build relationships with people, whether or not you need marketing or not. And they can reach me in those, they can, sorry about that. They can reach me in any of those means.
So as a matter of fact, I believe we're the coffee person that you're mentioning in Montana was a guest on this program as well.
Oh, was he so nice? Like, I haven't really gotten to know him very well. We just connected, but and he lives like, I think it's like 3 or 4 hours away from me, but I'm definitely I've talked and I've looked at his coffee and I'm definitely going to support him and buy some of his coffee.
Awesome. Yeah, stay tuned. That actually hasn't released yet. We've a little bit of editing to do on that video before it goes out. But I imagine we're probably talking about the same person, which is another great value add to things like Patriot Owned Businesses as a group. We get to know each other, interact, and support each other. Toward that end, I want to thank you, Dee, for joining us on this program. I wish you the very best luck, and whatever ends up happening with Connecticut versus Montana, I think God's got the wheel, and I think you've got the right approach. All good things come to those who put truth first.
Agreed. I appreciate it, Jonathan. I look forward to getting to know you further and, getting to see how I can help you as well.
Sounds good. Thanks again for joining us.